Yes.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Please, this particular one, we don't have it. The one we did on Wednesday.
We can divide our layouts into smaller units of components and then rather bring them in. So you can see we have the nav bar itself. It has the page links, and then in the page links, that's where we have the links. Look at this place. We have a link. We are saying it's home, but it should be, the home should be a / instead. Okay, it should be a /. So then the error would rather catch child element errors, okay, for us. So make sure that in the page links component you have the home here changed to the /, which becomes the base route for our page. We will later talk about error boundaries, okay, and then error elements that we can import into, we can bring into our main layout, which is probably the root layout like the app.js, to actually catch the entire errors that are being thrown by the entire page, okay. And that is the error we are seeing in there when we visit a link and it doesn't match. But as we have modified this, that home page should now work. So anytime we click, we go somewhere else and we come back to home, you can see the page works. But then you see, when I go to the other pages which are children of the main one, that one gives us the error page, right? Because we have not yet created about. So we are now getting our error pages. Any of these child elements that we visit, we get our error pages. So the only one that would work on later is the main boundary, error boundary, where it catches for the entire page itself, or probably make a redirect to a different page when a route is not being held, okay, or it did not match with any route, it goes to a different page. We can do a redirect like that. So the cause of the error is because we were actually passing home here, but we don't have any route called home. If you look at this, when you come to the app.js, we have not created any route called home. We rather have the main route to be this, and then we are referencing that to the index. That is why that particular section, when you click on home, it throws an error. But now we have fixed that, which means we can be able to. But then this one also works for the children of the main parent layout itself. That is what it's doing, okay. Good. Then the next thing we want to look at is to create the other pages we want to use. So under the pages, we already have home.js, which we have worked on, but then we also need the about.js. So just click on the home folder and then create a new file and name it about.js. So we are creating the about.js component. So let's create the boilerplate for that. RAFCE, and then we will take off this part, okay. Now let us just put an h1 tag here and name it about. So that's going to be about, okay. Make sure you are not left behind. So we have created our second component page for about, okay, and then we said to get the links mapped, you need the page links. We have created it in the page links component, and then we also have the main layouts component, which defines the entire layout of our website. That is how React works. It makes it easy for you to navigate through the different pages without actually rendering. You don't have to render the entire page. Things that are common to other pages or are the same on other pages, you just put them on a layout and then you make it control the other subsections of the site. So that is what we have done. We have the main layout and we have that. So now that we have created the about component, we want to add it to the list of routes we have, okay? Well, we currently don't have about, and all your pages must be above the error page. So never ever put any other page below the, because star means that anything. So if you bring the star above the index, the star is what will get rendered, right? So always make sure your components are sitting above the one with the star, the path defined as a star, which is match any sort of route. That is what it means. Now, so this route is going to have a path of about, right? And then the element itself would be the about element, or sorry, the about component. So let's do this, and then make sure that, you see, I did not actually wait for it to pop up for me to import it. You press the tab key to import, and most of the times I do this thing very fast because it is something we've been doing often. You need to always make sure that any component you are using is imported at the top. Other than that, if you just simply type it because you see it here, it will throw an error on your site, because the page will not be having that component, because the component is from external file, another file. So to use it in another file, it's in one file, you want to use it in another file, you need to actually import it to get it referenced, okay? And that is what we have just done here. Let us create the other pages. So we also have on our site, we have the classes link. So it means we'll be creating a classes page as well. Here we click on the pages, go to this place, and then do the classes with a capital S, the JS. Then you do the RAFCE, take this off, and then let's say this is for H1 for what? Classes. So we are just adding that descriptive heading there to help us see if our pages are navigating well with the links we have on top of the page. So it's the same thing we have repeated here, just as we did for about. We have also done the same thing for classes. We created a component, and take note, the component starts with a capital C, right? So we created a component, and then we have created a boilerplate inside it. After creating the boilerplate, we have what? We have just created a heading inside. We will later replace this or add some stuff to this part, okay? But the last page we want to do is the contact. So let's go to the top again, create a new file, and say contacts.js, and then also create the boilerplate for that. So let's resolve that. Good. So we have this here, and then inside the div, let's create an H1 again and say contact. So we have created all the pages we need for this particular design: home, about, classes, contact. We have done them. Now we need to add them to this particular apps.js in order to register it for a route. So we'll click on the app.js. And then come above this route and make sure that we define this route here, path equals, then we'll name this contact, and the element is going to be the contact component, okay? So let us make that resolve. Okay, then you just tap or click on it to import that. Then let us self close this, and then we have one more. So we'll create another one, route with path, and we are calling this path classes, right? And take note, we are giving the path names can also start with a capital letter, but then I prefer we use the smaller letter words. Okay, so we can now say classes component. Let us also allow that to resolve. Good. Then we can click on that and then do this, and let's do that and close it. So we have now created the routes in our app.js file, and most of the time these routes are created within the root component. Okay, so it can propagate, like descend these routes to the other pages within your React project. But then that is not all. After mapping this, you need to go to where you created the links, and we created the links inside the page links. So from here, where the main routes are set up, you need to now create a link that will link to the various routes. And you can see we already have the about, the classes, and the contact. But then if you don't have it there, you have to go and type them there. Okay, so we created that last, so we just make sure it matches with the various names we have used. And these names here, these ones here, about, classes, and then contact, at where you have the two, must match exactly as the names you are using for the path here. If you don't do that, if you miss out even a character, the link will not be mapped to that page. So now, after ensuring that the links, the nav links, are matching to this, we can now go to the respective pages and then now click to visit the pages. So you can now see I have the about, I have the classes, and I have the contact. So the links are working fine. When I click on home, we have already worked on home. So when I click, it shows the home component. Okay, good. And then when you look at the bottom, we don't have any footer, which is not so great. So let's go in here and then create one more component, but this is not going to be a page. The footer is not going to be a page. It will actually be placed in the page, so it should be a component. So we'll come up here, click on new file. So please, let's create a new file and call it footer.js. So then we'll type the RAFCE to also generate the function for that. Okay, then after that, we'll put in some text here. For the meantime, let's call this just footer. We will not put it in any h1, we'll just call it footer. Now this footer component can now be imported into the home component, so it shows at the bottom of the page. So let us go into our home. Please make sure you have the footer.js, and then let's click on our home component. That's the one we have already styled. So in our home component, we have become a teacher, this section, and below it we have that's div. Okay, so the div is the main container housing the whole thing. Now this main home container, we are calling here home container. I want us to change it to main container. Okay, so that you can see we already have